Tell me it's a lie. I said talk. How can my wife be carrying a child that belongs to my own son? After everything I gave you, the schools abroad, the cars, the businesses, this is how you repay me?
Dad.
Don't call me Dad.
I'm sorry. Please forgive us.
So it's true?
It wasn't planned.
It wasn't planned? I buried your mother 10 years ago. I spent a loan before bringing this woman into my house. I trust both of you.
Chief, please listen.
Listen to what? That my son has become my rival? That my wife now carries my grandson, my stepchild, at the same time?
Dad, please.
Three years earlier, long before the stormy nights that threatened to tear the Balogun family apart, life inside the magnificent mansion on Admiralty Way seemed like a blessing from heaven. Chief Adewale Balogun was a man whose name carried weight throughout Lagos. People spoke of him with respect in Victoria Island, Ikoyi, and Lekki. His fleet of trucks moved goods across Nigeria. His real estate company owned properties worth billions of naira. Whenever he attended social gatherings, politicians, businessmen, and traditional rulers rushed to greet him. Yet wealth could not protect him from grief. 10 years earlier, death had stolen his beloved wife, Fumilayo Balogun, after a brief illness. Her passing shattered him. For years, he buried himself in work and refused to consider marriage again. His only comfort was his son. Tunde was 17 when his mother died. Father and son became each other's support system. Together, they endured the painful years that followed. As Tunde grew into adulthood, Chief Adewale became increasingly proud of him. The young man graduated from university with honors and returned to Lagos to help manage part of the family business. Employees admired his intelligence. Clients respected his professionalism. To outsiders, the Baloguns appeared to be the perfect family. But loneliness is a dangerous thing. By the time Chief Adewale turned 60, he began to feel the emptiness of his large mansion. Every evening, he returned home to silent hallways. No laughter, no companionship, no one waiting to ask how his day had gone. Even Tunde spent most of his time working, traveling, or socializing with friends. One evening, during a business dinner at a luxury hotel in Victoria Island, Chief Adewale met a woman who changed everything. Her name was Amina Bello. She was 25 years old, beautiful, educated, elegant. Unlike many women who approached wealthy men for money, Amina carried herself with dignity and confidence. She worked as an event coordinator and had built a respectable career for herself. Their first conversation lasted almost 2 hours. Chief Adewale found himself laughing more than he had in years. For the first time since Fumilayo's death, he felt alive again. Over the following months, they grew closer. Friends warned him about the age difference. Some whispered that Amina was only interested in his fortune. Others believed she would eventually destroy his family. Chief Adewale ignored them all. Love had blinded him. Within a year, they married in a lavish ceremony attended by Lagos elites. The wedding made headlines. Many praised the union, others criticized it, but Chief Adewale did not care. He believed happiness had finally returned to his life. At first, Tunde tried to be supportive. He welcomed Amina into the family. He called her Mami Amina out of respect. He attended family dinners. He smiled during photographs. But deep inside, something felt strange. Amina was only 2 years older than him. Whenever they sat together at family events, people often mistook them for a couple rather than a stepmother and stepson. The situation made him uncomfortable. Months passed. Chief Adewale became busier than ever. His business expanded into several West African countries. Meetings consumed his days, international trips consumed his weeks. Sometimes he spent 10 or 15 days away from Lagos. At first, Amina enjoyed the freedom. She focused on decorating the mansion and organizing charity projects. But gradually, loneliness began to creep into her life. The mansion was enormous, too enormous. Every night she wandered through empty hallways. Every morning she ate breakfast alone. Every evening she waited for a husband who was somewhere in another country. The marriage that once seemed exciting began to feel like a prison. One Saturday afternoon, Chief Adewale traveled to Abuja for an important business conference. Amina remained home. Heavy rain had trapped everyone indoors. Tunde happened to be working from the mansion's home office. The electricity suddenly went out. The backup generator failed. For the first time in months, they found themselves sitting together in the living room, talking without distractions. What started as casual conversation stretched into hours. They discussed childhood memories, dreams, fears, regrets. As darkness settled outside, both realized something uncomfortable. They enjoyed each other's company, far more than they should. Neither spoke about it, neither acted on it, but the seed had been planted. After that day, things slowly changed. Whenever Chief Adewale traveled, Amina and Tunde spent more time together. Sometimes they watched movies, sometimes they shared dinner, sometimes they simply talked. Each conversation brought them closer. Each moment weakened the boundaries they should have respected. Tunde knew the relationship was dangerous. Whenever he looked at family photographs hanging on the wall, guilt twisted inside his stomach. That was his father's wife, his father's happiness, his father's second chance at life. Yet he could not ignore the growing attraction. Amina struggled with the same feelings. Many nights she stood before her bedroom mirror and reminded herself that Tunde was her stepson. She prayed for strength. She begged herself to stay away from temptation. But emotions do not always obey reason. One evening, nearly a year after her marriage, Chief Adewale departed to London on a 2-week business trip. The first week passed quietly. The second week became dangerous. On a Friday night, Amina hosted a small dinner at the mansion. Only she and Tunde attended. Rain fell outside. Soft music played through the speakers. The atmosphere felt peaceful, too peaceful. As the night progressed, their conversation became more personal than ever. Amina spoke about her loneliness. Tunde confessed how isolated he sometimes felt despite his wealth and success. The emotional distance between them disappeared. For a brief moment, neither remembered who they were supposed to be, neither remembered the consequences. Only their feelings existed. And feelings can be powerful enough to destroy entire families. The next morning, both woke up consumed by regret. Neither wanted to discuss what had happened. Both understood the gravity of their mistake. They agreed it would never happen again. They promised to bury the secret forever. For several weeks, they avoided each other. Whenever Chief Adewale returned home, they acted normal. Family dinners continued, business meetings continued, life appeared unchanged. But beneath the surface, fear was growing. Then came the day that changed everything. Nearly 2 months later, Amina stood alone inside a private clinic in Lekki. Her hands trembled as the doctor handed her a test result. The room seemed to spin. The words on the paper blurred before her eyes. She read them again, and again, and again. Pregnant. Amina's knees nearly gave way beneath her. A cold wave of terror rushed through her body. She knew exactly who the father was. And in that instant, she realized the secret she and Tunde had buried was no longer buried. It was alive, growing, and sooner or later, it would destroy every life connected to the Balogun family. As she walked out of the clinic into the busy streets of Lekki, she had no idea that the nightmare was only beginning. Because someone had already seen her entering the clinic, and that person was preparing to tell Chief Adewale. Amina could barely breathe as she stepped out of the private clinic in Lekki. The afternoon sun was shining brightly, but she felt cold. Her fingers tightened around her handbag where the pregnancy test result was hidden. Pregnant. The word echoed endlessly inside her mind. Every passing car sounded distant. Every voice seemed muffled. She reached her vehicle and sat behind the steering wheel without starting the engine. Tears filled her eyes. She had imagined many possible consequences when she and Tunde crossed the line. She had feared guilt. She had feared shame. She had feared losing her marriage. But she had never truly prepared herself for this. A child. An innocent life. A permanent reminder of a mistake that could destroy an entire family. Her hands trembled as she reached for her phone. She stared at Tunde's contact for several seconds before finally pressing the call button. The call connected immediately. Amina? Tunde answered. His voice sounded concerned. You never call me during business hours. Is everything okay? Amina struggled to speak. Tunde. The fear in her voice immediately alarmed him. What happened? There was a long silence. Then she whispered the words, I'm pregnant. The line went completely silent. For several seconds, neither spoke. Finally, Tunde's voice returned. Soft. Broken. No. Amina closed her eyes. Yes. Another silence followed. This one felt even heavier. What are we going to do? Tunde finally asked. The question hung between them. Neither had an answer, because every possible solution seemed impossible. Every path led to disaster. If your father finds out, Amina began, he can't. He will. He must not. Amina shook her head, even though he couldn't see her. Secrets don't stay buried forever. After ending the call, she drove home feeling as though she was driving toward a prison sentence. Meanwhile, unknown to both of them, someone else had already begun connecting the pieces. Her name was Mama Kemi. The 55-year-old woman had worked as a housekeeper for the Balogun family for nearly 8 years. She knew every corner of the mansion. More importantly, she knew people. She noticed things others ignored. And recently, she had noticed changes. The lingering glances, the awkward silences, the unusual closeness between Amina and Tunde whenever Chief Adewale traveled. At first, she dismissed her suspicions, but then she happened to visit the same clinic that afternoon for her own medical appointment. There, she saw Amina leaving the doctor's office. Pregnancy documents were visible inside her handbag. The sight immediately troubled her. Chief Adewale had been away in Ghana for almost 6 weeks. The timing felt wrong, very wrong. Mama Kemi didn't want to believe her suspicions, but doubt had already entered her mind, and doubt has a way of growing. That evening, Tunde arrived home earlier than usual. The atmosphere inside the mansion felt different. Every glance felt dangerous. Every word felt loaded with hidden meaning. During dinner, Chief Adewale sat at the head of the table, discussing business opportunities. Amina barely touched her food. Tunde avoided eye contact. The older man eventually noticed. Is something wrong with both of you? Immediately, their hearts skipped. Amina forced a smile. Nothing is wrong. Chief Adewale frowned. You look pale. I'm just tired. He nodded slowly, but something about her answer bothered him. For the first time, a tiny seed of suspicion entered his mind. The following weeks became a nightmare. Amina's pregnancy symptoms grew stronger. Morning sickness arrived. Fatigue became constant. She struggled to hide the changes from her husband. Every day felt like walking across a bridge that could collapse at any moment. Meanwhile, Tunde was falling apart. The guilt consumed him. He stopped socializing. He avoided family gatherings. His work performance suffered. Employees noticed. Business partners noticed. Even Chief Adewale noticed. One evening, Father and son sat together on the balcony overlooking the Lagos Lagoon. The city lights sparkled in the distance. For several minutes, neither spoke. Then, Chief Adewale finally broke the silence. "You've changed." Tunde forced a laugh. "What do you mean?" "I mean, you look like a man carrying the weight of the world." Tunde stared at the water. His chest tightened. If only his father knew the truth. "You know, your mother always said guilt is like smoke." Tunde froze. His father smiled sadly. "No matter how hard you try to hide it, eventually someone notices." Those words struck Tunde like a hammer. For a moment, he almost confessed everything. The lies, the betrayal, the pregnancy, all of it. But fear stopped him. Instead, he remained silent. But unfortunately, silence can sometimes be more suspicious than words. As the weeks passed, rumors began spreading among the household staff. Nothing specific, just whispers, questions, speculation. People noticed how nervous Amina had become. They noticed Tunde's strange behavior, and they noticed Chief Adewale's growing concern. One morning, Amina woke up feeling violently ill. She barely made it to the bathroom before vomiting. Unfortunately, she wasn't alone. Chief Adewale witnessed everything. His concern immediately intensified. Later that day, he insisted on taking her to a doctor. Amina's heart nearly stopped. No. The response came too quickly, too forcefully. The businessman stared at her. "Why not? I already visited a doctor recently." The room suddenly became silent. Recently? Amina realized her mistake. Chief Adewale narrowed his eyes. "You never told me that." Panic flooded her body. "It was nothing serious." "When?" "Several weeks ago." "Which clinic?" The questions kept coming. Each one felt like a knife. Fortunately, her phone rang before she could answer. The interruption saved her, but not for long, because suspicion had now fully awakened inside Chief Adewale. That night, he couldn't sleep. Something felt wrong. For weeks, he had ignored the warning signs. Now, they replayed endlessly inside his mind. Amina's nervous behavior, Tunde's guilt, their awkward interactions, the clinic visit, the secrets. None of it made sense, and yet all of it felt connected. The next day, he made a decision that would change everything. Without telling anyone, he hired a private investigator. The investigator's instructions were simple. Find out what his wife was hiding. At first, the investigation uncovered nothing. Amina was careful. Tunde was careful. Both avoided situations that might expose them. But secrets rarely stay hidden forever, especially when fear begins causing mistakes. One afternoon, Tunde and Amina met in a silent section of a shopping complex. They intended to discuss the pregnancy, nothing more. But neither knew they were being watched. The private investigator photographed the meeting, the conversation, the expressions, the obvious emotional tension between them. Although the photographs proved nothing, they raised serious questions that demanded answers. A few days later, the investigator delivered the report. Chief Adewale sat alone inside his home office reviewing every page. At first, he saw only innocent explanations. Then, he reached the photographs. His heart stopped. There they were, Amina and Tunde, meeting secretly, looking frightened, looking guilty, looking like two people hiding something enormous. The businessman stared at the images for nearly an hour. His hands shook. His breathing became uneven. No, it couldn't be true. Not his son, not his wife, not his family. Yet the evidence continued growing, and deep inside, a terrifying possibility was beginning to take shape. That evening, Chief Adewale called Amina into his office. She entered nervously. Immediately, she noticed the photographs spread across the desk. Her color drained from her face. Chief Adewale noticed, and in that moment, his worst fears became stronger. "Why were you meeting Tunde in secret?" Amina's mouth went dry. Her mind raced, searching desperately for an explanation, any explanation, but none came. The silence spoke louder than words. Chief Adewale slowly rose from his chair. His eyes remained fixed on her. For the first time since their marriage, genuine distrust appeared on his face. "Amina," he said quietly, "what exactly are you hiding from me?" The question hung in the air, heavy, dangerous, unavoidable. And as Amina stood frozen in fear, she realized the walls around their secret were finally beginning to collapse. What neither of them knew was that the investigator had uncovered one final piece of evidence far more devastating than photographs. Evidence that would soon reveal the truth about the pregnancy. And when that truth reached Chief Adewale, the confrontation waiting at the Balogun mansion would become inevitable. The storm was coming, and nobody would escape it. The storm arrived on a Thursday night. Dark clouds gathered over Lekki long before sunset. The wind rattled windows across the neighborhood, and distant thunder rolled across the Lagos sky. Inside the Balogun mansion, however, an even greater storm was preparing to explode. Chief Adewale sat alone in his private office. The investigator had returned that afternoon, and this time he hadn't come with photographs. He had come with answers. The older man's hands trembled as he opened the sealed envelope. Inside was a detailed report. Amina's clinic records, appointment dates, medical information, pregnancy timelines. Every page pointed toward one terrifying conclusion. The child could not be his. The dates made that impossible. For several minutes, Chief Adewale simply stared at the documents. His mind refused to accept what his eyes were seeing. He read every page again, then again, then again. The result never changed. His wife was pregnant, and according to the timeline, the father was almost certainly Tunde, his only son, the boy he had raised, the young man he trusted more than anyone in the world. A strange sound escaped his throat. Not a cry, not a scream, something in between. The sound of a heart breaking. Outside, lightning flashed. Inside, Chief Adewale felt his world collapse. Memories flooded his mind. Teaching Tunde how to ride a bicycle, attending his school graduation, holding him after his mother's funeral, working tirelessly to build a future for him. Every sacrifice, every dream, every act of love now poisoned by betrayal. For nearly an hour, he sat motionless. Then something inside him changed. The sadness hardened. The heartbreak transformed into anger, and by the time he stood up, there was only one thing left to do: confront them immediately. He ordered all household staff to leave for the night. Nobody questioned him. The expression on his face frightened everyone. Within 30 minutes, the mansion was nearly empty. Only 3 people remained: Chief Adewale, Amina, and Tunde. The same 3 people whose lives were about to change forever. Amina was sitting in the living room when she heard the office door slam. The sound made her jump. Moments later, she saw Chief Adewale approaching. His face was unlike anything she had ever seen before. Cold, broken, dangerous. Fear gripped her instantly. Before she could speak, he threw a thick folder on the center table. Medical reports scattered across the floor. Photographs followed. Then investigator reports. Amina's heart stopped. She knew. The secret was over. Chief Adewale's voice came out low and trembling. Tell me the truth. Amina couldn't speak. The words refused to come. At that exact moment, Tunde entered the room. He immediately noticed the documents, the photographs, the expressions on their faces, and he understood everything. His legs suddenly felt weak. The nightmare they had feared for months had finally arrived. For several seconds, nobody moved. Nobody spoke. Only the storm outside made any sound. Then Chief Adewale exploded. How long? The roar shook the room. Amina flinched. Tunde froze. How long have you both been lying to me? Still, nobody answered. Chief Adewale pointed toward the reports. Look at me. Tunde slowly raised his eyes. The pain he saw on his father's face nearly destroyed him. Dad, don't call me that. The words struck like a slap. Years of love, years of trust, years of family, gone in a single sentence. Amina burst into tears. I'm sorry. Chief Adewale laughed bitterly. The sound was heartbreaking. Sorry? He looked at her, then at Tunde. Do either of you understand what you have done? No one answered, because there was no defense, no excuse, no justification. Only guilt, heavy and suffocating. Chief Adewale's voice cracked. When your mother died, Tunde, I thought God was punishing me. Tears filled his eyes, but I survived because I had you. The young man lowered his head. Each word felt like a knife. I worked for you. I sacrificed for you. I trusted you. The old man pointed toward Amina. And you repaid me by taking the one person I allowed into my life again. Tunde could no longer hold back his tears. I'm sorry. I never meant for this to happen. Chief Adewale shook his head, but it did. Silence returned. The storm outside intensified. Rain battered the windows. Thunder echoed through the mansion. Then Amina did something unexpected. She fell to her knees. Her tears soaked the polished marble. Please forgive us. The words came between sobs. It started as friendship. I was lonely. You were always away. Chief Adewale stared at her. Disbelief filled his face. So, this is my fault? No. She shook her head desperately. No, that's not what I mean. But the damage was already done. Chief Adewale looked away. His eyes moved toward Tunde. What about you? The young man struggled to speak. I don't have an excuse. The honesty surprised everyone, including himself. I failed you. I betrayed you. And I deserve your anger. Chief Adewale closed his eyes. For a moment, nobody moved. Then he slowly walked toward a glass cabinet near the wall. Amina immediately noticed. Her heart stopped. The cabinet opened. The pistol appeared in his hand. Amina screamed. Tunde instantly stepped forward. Dad! The old man wasn't pointing the weapon at anyone yet, but the sight alone was terrifying. Years of heartbreak and betrayal burned behind his eyes. The room felt seconds away from disaster. Amina began to cry harder. Tunde positioned himself between his father and Amina. The gesture did not go unnoticed. Even now, he was protecting her. That realization shattered something inside Chief Adewale. He lowered his head. and suddenly the pistol slipped from his hands. It landed on the floor. The sound echoed through the room. Nobody moved. Nobody breathed. Then something unexpected happened. Chief Adewale collapsed into a chair and began to cry. Not quietly, not with dignity. He cried like a man whose soul was torn apart. The anger vanished. Only pain remained. Watching him break was worse than any punishment. Tunde dropped to his knees. Amina followed. For several minutes, all three cried. No one spoke. There were simply no words large enough for the tragedy that had unfolded. Finally, Chief Adewale wiped his face, and when he spoke again, his voice sounded exhausted. You both need to leave. Amina looked up. What? You heard me. His eyes were empty. This marriage is over. The words struck her like a physical blow. And you, Tunde? Tunde looked at his father. You are no longer welcome in this house. Tunde closed his eyes. He had expected those words. They still hurt. Chief Adewale stood, slowly, painfully, like a man carrying a mountain on his shoulders. I cannot pretend this never happened. He looked toward the family photographs hanging on the wall. Pictures from happier times. Pictures that now felt like memories from another life. But I refuse to let more destruction happen here. No one argued. No one protested. Because deep down, they knew he was right. Before sunrise, Amina packed her belongings. Tunde packed his as well. Neither knew what the future would bring. They only knew they could never return to the lives they once had. As dawn approached, they stood outside the mansion. The rain had finally stopped. The storm was over, at least the one in the sky. Chief Adewale watched from the doorway. For a moment, father and son locked eyes. Thousands of memories passed between them. Neither spoke. Some wounds are too deep for words. Tunde climbed into his vehicle. Amina followed. The car slowly disappeared down Admiralty Way. And just like that, the family was gone. Months later, Amina gave birth to a healthy baby boy. She and Tunde chose to raise him together. Their future remained uncertain. Their reputation had suffered. Many people judged them. Others avoided them. But they accepted the consequences of their choices. Meanwhile, Chief Adewale remained alone in the mansion. The silence returned. Yet this time, it felt different. Not peaceful, not comforting, but necessary. Sometimes, forgiveness takes years. Sometimes it never fully arrives. One evening, nearly a year later, a small package arrived at the mansion. Inside was a photograph, a baby smiling at the camera. Attached was a handwritten note. It contained only 6 words. We are sorry. We miss you. For a long time, Chief Adewale stared at the picture. Then a single tear rolled down his cheek. Not because the pain was gone, but because despite everything that had happened, they were still family. And family, no matter how broken, never completely disappears. If you enjoyed this story and want to see more powerful African family dramas, emotional tales, and unforgettable folk tales, please take a moment to like this video and leave a comment below. Your support helps this channel grow and allows us to bring you more amazing stories. And if you're new here, make sure you subscribe to African-Folk-Tales-By-Nikky and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our next captivating story. Before you go, we'd love to hear from you. Tell us in the comments, where are you watching from today? Thank you for spending your time with us, and we'll see you in the next powerful African folk tale.